Today's case study is going to be on QLACs, the use of the QLAC. Just again, a reminder, the upcoming Thrive is happening on August 8th and 9th in Tampa. If you're interested, give a yell or a call. All right, time to start on our case study for QLACs. So let's talk about the QLAC before I start going over a case study. So there's some changes this year, and some interesting good changes, and the use of the QLAC, There's no more limitation. It used to be 25% of your qualified dollars. Now it's not a percentage, and up to $200,000, irregardless. Now, today's case study, it's not going to show you a case where the QLAC's better or worse. You should realize what a QLAC is. A QLAC is no different than a DIA, right? It's a DIA that you could do with a non-qualified situation, but now not be restricted to the age of 73 and RMDs. So it gives you the window to start at any time from 73 to 85, where you couldn't do in the past, right? Or you could only do with a non-qualified pile. The math underneath isn't any different than would be any other D or non-qualified from the insurer's point of view in terms of life expectancy, mortality credits, etc. The question is the application. And actually today I'm going to show you where basically the QLAC is no better than worse than conventional use of an income rider. And I want to show you so that you understand that it's not a winner or a loser, where it's a win. Sometimes it'll be a winner and sometimes it'll be a loser, depending on its use and when you should use it. There'll be times where it makes a lot of sense, and there'll be times it really isn't applicable. And that's what you're trying to do, is figure out when to put it in. I'm just trying to show you why I use it and where and for what purpose. But always understand there are some really great windows for it. And I'll give you a couple of examples, which I'm not going to go over today because they would be specific uses of that QLAC. I get a client who, pretend I have two clients, a husband and a wife, who are 66, 67, 68, and maybe he has deferred comp for 10 years. Right? There's a 10-year deferred comp. Well, I'm not going to want RMDs to start at 73, because obviously I'm going to have this maybe a large amount of money coming in, and all that RMD is going to do to me is throwing me a higher Medicare tier or a higher tax bracket. Maybe I want to use that window from 63 to 73 that I have only 6 or 7 years to convert. Maybe I have $1 million between me and my wife, and I can put 400,000 in the QLAC and push that all the way back to 85, when maybe I'm going to have high medical needs and higher income needs way back. And from 67 to 73, I want to use that window, or maybe I have to go to 75 or 76. Maybe my client's 70 when they retire, and I have only 70 to 73 normally to do a Roth conversion. Well, now by pushing that back, maybe I can get my Roth conversion that balance of my $1 million, 600,000. Maybe I could do it from 70 to 75 or 70 to 76 without throwing me in a higher Medicare tier. Maybe I could do $80,000 or $100,000 a year and still keep myself from jumping into that higher Medicare tier and keep myself in the 22% bracket. So there are specific cases where it makes sense. Okay, what I'm going to do today, however, is I'm going to show you a case where a QLAC can make sense for. So let me kind of go through this. We have a single client, a widower, and he has objectives to give his heirs. Wants to give his heirs as much as he can, and we're going to show here his goal of $2 million. I think it was 1.5 actually. And if we look at him, let's take a quick look at him. You can see there is not an issue here. This is not a client who's going to likely run out of money. Yes, his withdrawal rate starts creeping up. We can see that. And it does go over. We like to keep under 4% to at least halfway through retirement. He may just start inching over that. He has a life expectancy of age 90. And we have a decent amount of reliable income. However, you can see it's a decreasing number. The reason it's a decreasing number is Social Security and a pension can't keep up with the inflation. So we have an erosion of purchasing power. Right? But generally, his free liquidity quite a bit out. So he's generally in good shape. And if I do a stress test, our client, they're fine. They won't run out of money. He won't reach his goal, but he won't run out of money either, even in a bad market. Very conservative investor is 50-50, qualified, non-qualified. Well, he's got about half his money qualified, non-qualified, and half of his fixed and half of his equity. We have the equity at 7% and the fixed at 4%. Note on that 4%, we're using 4%. However, the chances of, if you go out and get fixed income right now, like you'll get a CD or even a short-term annuity, you're looking at 4 and 5%. That's what you're getting now, 5% maybe. But that starts dropping off after you're looking at 7-8 year bonds or annuities or anything. It starts dropping. You're not going to get like a CD for it's 5-year CDs. I don't think are pay. They're like in the 4s, and you'll start seeing that drop off because no one wants to bet that these interest rates will be forever, right? And that's just what it is. But we're projecting that 4% will be there forever. Whether it is a different story. Now, the other things to note on this client. Again, conservative investor, you can see doesn't run out of money in a bad market. Obviously, I don't have to look at a good market. However, of course, now the client gave us, I'm using what the client gives us. How if they go to 100, there's a chance they'd run out of money. But that's not the client's objective, so I'm not necessarily looking at that issue right now. I want to build my plan around what my client feels comfortable with. I do want to warn him maybe, but that's something you always can't fight the client. If that's not their fear, outliving their money, maybe their fear is just building a nest egg or whatever it might be. If they're telling you, I've got diabetes, I've had a heart attack, whatever, you don't want to get into an argument. That's what they want, and that's what you do. And you build your plan around that. But it's always important that age. Why? If he told me 100, I may use a different solution. And I'm going to show you why. Okay, let's go to the solution. And I'm going to start with a solution with no COLA. Okay. So what did I do in this case? I bought income, and I started income paying out. I needed $490,000. It was qualified money to get approximately $3,050 a month, which is what his initial shortfall is. Right? No COLA. And you can see as time goes on, of course, without that COLA, that 3,048 stays the same, but my expenses are going up. Again, I have the erosion of purchasing power, as you can see here. However, I've solved the plan. I could call it a day. I took $500,000 off the table, approximately 35% of his money. And then I put the rest in his non-qualified, went from 50-50 to 90% equity, 10% fixed. I've got all your money you need. I've still got 170,000 my qualified, and even if I hold 10% back, I have 70,000 of cash or liquid non-qualified asset in my non-qualified assets in case I needed money. I'm effectively the same fixed equity I was before. I was 50-50. Actually, it might be slightly more equity than 50-50 now because it's 90-10. Remember, I put 500,000 or 35% in a fixed component, right? So I am almost 50-50 right now. All right. That said, we can see it's a safe situation. I've created, I kept his withdrawal rate. There's nothing to argue. 85% of his income's guaranteed. My average withdrawal rate's 1.5. My high is 2.7. My biggest problem in this scenario is this. I created a high withdrawal rate as time goes on because I got a really low one here and a high one here. And this is really not efficient in time. Why? Is because I'd rather have this green line as level as possible. Much easier to manage his non-qualified portfolio for needs on a linear basis of withdrawal rates than a progressive one. Because what happens is here is as time goes on, when I need more and more money, it's getting harder and harder to live off dividends in a portfolio, and more need will have to come from liquidation. And of course, over time, I'm going to face capital gains on that liquidation because I've got an appreciating portfolio. And so I'm really stepping off my tax exposure to the end of my life. Now, that's not too crazy because, again, end of my life, my needs might have lots of medical expenses, maybe be able to itemize, maybe. Not a bad problem, but it's something to keep in consideration. Now, you may argue, why don't I do a COLA to kind of level that line out? Well, part of it is that with the COLA is that a COLA generally is going to lose if I only live to 90, right? Because what happens at 90? For the insurer, the risks, you get paid more at the back end and less in the front end. You actually need a longer window to get an into the insurer's pocket. And because of that, the non-COLA, there's going to be a break point where the COLA wins, the non-COLA doesn't. And so in fact, I'm going to go to the next step. Let's look at a normal solution. And that's where I would use a COLA. And when I use that COLA, I got this line leveled out, which makes it easy for a manager's portfolio. I've got way guaranteed income. Now, what I did here is I took all 650 to give me most of the money I need up front and a nice fat, when I got a 3% COLA on this, New York Life 650. I start with 2,600, about 800 short of my 3,400 I need. But I'm still at a 1% withdrawal rate. So that's easy to manage a portfolio with a 1% dividend. And that 2,600 is going to grow every year. So it's going to actually keep up with a much better job of keeping up with inflation. So that even at the end of my life, my withdrawal rate is still like 1.5. It's just crazy low. It's a 1.3. I can manage a portfolio much easier. However, if you notice, my net worth here is 978, all apples to apples. And the original solution, no COLA, I was 976. No COLA marginally beats it out here. Now, if I live to 91 or 92, well, let's go back to that COLA. Well, let's look at what that annuity is paying. The first one's paying $34.50 for life or something like that. Cash flow. By the end of the life on this, the annuity is now, let's see, pension, that annuity is now paying, the COLA one's paying $64.13. So if I didn't do a COLA, I'd get more, 800 up front more, but by the end of the plan, I'm getting 3,000 more per month. So even though I'm trailing a little at age 90, by 91, I'm getting $36,000 a year more. I'll make up the little difference that it was. You can see that's where the crossover point with the COLA is. So why did I go over all this with you? Because where's the QLAC in all this? All right, let's talk about the downside to what I did here. Right, the downside for this client is that I put out 650. Should this client die anytime before about here, somewhere around here, right about here, and I can see this point. This point is right around year 2038. I'm going to scroll down to this graph where the assets are. That's about right here. If I get my mouse to work, let's expand those charts. I come down here and I look, that's around 2038. But what is the significance of 2038? That's when the annuity's value is gone. Up to that point, I've gotten a 0% return. If I die in 2038, that 650 had gotten a 0% rate of return. That's why that green line is less than the red line. Even though I had the green line invested the rest of my money in equities to try to catch up, it's trying to catch up while at the same time I have a 650,000, about 45% of my money growing at 0%. Now, if I'm going to live a long time, I don't really care because eventually I get to the point where there is no asset in the annuity, but there's a crap load of income coming in. And that's when this starts shooting off because now I'm getting into the insurer's pocket eventually. I'm starting to collect those mortality credits. I've lived to here, there's no issues. I live to here or to anywhere up to about the crossover point where I've got now the return on my annuity is equal to basically the return if I left it still. And it's really somewhere around age 84 that the annuity is starting to outperform the just conventional investing. All right. No big deal. If I'm always worried about risk, but what if I get the client who says, well, what if I died at 80 or 85? Well, and if he's concerned about his heirs, that's the downside of this solution. Because I put more money into the annuity, and with the COLA, I'm going to suck into that money fast. And there won't be any cash slow at first and then fast at the back end. So it's going to take a long time to start really performing for that COLA. As I just showed you, the COLA really doesn't really start outperforming a non-COLA situation until 90. And so I have this crossover point way down here. That may be a concern of a client. Okay, what's an alternative to this? And again, No solutions are, there's many right solutions, many wrong solutions. My goal today is make you think about what different products will compare and where, and maybe emotionally pair better for a client, different clients. Any one of these solutions will be a winner. Any one, depending on life expectancy, marital status, quotes of the day. Some carrier might do QLACs, and they're the winner on a traditional SPIA. And they're trying to buy market share, and they're great buy today. And so but they don't do QLAC. So conversely, the QLAC, whoever's doing the QLAC might be really highly competitive on the QLAC, but they're not really competitive on a conventional IRA, conventional SPIA. So that's an important note. Now let's look at this, my solution. What did I do? Well, you'll notice, by the way, let's look at the numbers from the COLA versus that. That's 975. I've got a 1% average withdrawal rate, 1.6 is a high, 91% income. Let's look at the solution. We can look at the solution with no COLA. No COLA, I creamed it here. I creamed it here 1 to 1.5, and I creamed it here 1.6 to 2.7, and 91. I trail by about a grand here. So that's not even debatable. I would probably do my solution with a QLAC over that. Now, how about just doing against the COLA? Against the COLA one was at 91 as well. 1 and 1.3 versus 1 and 1.6. 1.6 for my solution with the QLAC. 91 for my solution with the QLAC. Very close. 970 versus 975 for the QLAC. All of them are about the same numbers. You can't lose. The difference is my COLA and the QLAC are doing one thing that the non-COLA typical SPIA doesn't do. And you can see, let's go to both the solution with the COLA and my solution with the QLAC. In both cases, I've got my average withdrawal rate to 1. My highest is very low, 1.6. You can see that right here. And I've got a 91%. Both of these have higher guarantee incomes and better withdrawal rates. I can manage my investment portfolio way better to this. Okay, so what did I do? What's the difference between this and just doing a SPIA with a COLA? An extra step. The SPIA COLA was simple, easy, done, call it a day. What I did here was actually a 16-year period certain. I took 450 and did a period certain contract. Okay? And that period certain contract, what does that do? Well, that's actually an investment. If I die, my heirs are actually getting more than the 450, I put into this. I actually get something close to 700,000 back. It's an actual real investment. That's why you see this green and red line are almost identical. Why? Because the green line isn't just before it was 650 non-performing. Now it's actually got an IRA, an actual valuation to the annuity because it's going to get 660 back. There's actually more value in this if I die prematurely. My kids won't just get 650 back. Here they're going to get the full payment, which is going to be almost 700,000 of my 450, and they're going to get the installment refund, cash refund of 200,000 with my QLAC. So there's more money at the death benefit for my client. That's kind of the benefit here. Now the QLAC, so what I did was I did 16 years on a period certain, and that gave me 2713. Again, about this time about $700. Before I was 800 short, I'm now 700 short, about the same as I did with the COLA. When I was doing with the COLA SPIA, right, where I took 650 and did a COLA SPIA. It's getting about the same amount of money, but this is not for life. This is only for 16 years. And I did put a COLA of 3%. So it's tracking kind of along with what I would have done with the life. But it comes to an end in 17 years. But I didn't need to I didn't have to commit 650 to it. I committed 450 to it. And then I have the 200 that I can put in the cash refund. And I put it into that QLAC, and look what the QLAC is going to do. It's going to pay me $6,000 for the rest of my life. And so, and I didn't do a COLA. I could have done a COLA, take a lower payment. That's why you have this line going like this, because again, commitment from the client on life expectancy is important. No point to doing a COLA for this because you'll never get the money back waiting. I don't start this till the client's 84 years old. So I only have 6 years, so I'll never get it back with a COLA. I have to go to 100 for the COLA to make sense of the QLAC. So here, but here's the beauty. I do get all my money back and then some. Plus, if I did die before I'm 84, I got my 200K back. By the time I'm 84, that was, remember, at age 38 on the SPIA with a COLA, there is no money coming back to heirs. What I got is what I got in my non-qualified portfolio, and that's it. Here, I'm getting whatever's in my non-qualified portfolio, plus I'm going to get the 200,000 bucks back that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. That's again why my green line is always ahead of that red line. And then when the money is exhausted here, by that point, I've made so much money from the income that it doesn't matter that there's no underlying asset in the annuities anymore, because frankly, now I've made a lot more money from cash flow. So this is kind of better because I'm protecting some more of the air. It took a little more work. It doesn't make a lot more money. It makes a little bit more money. Same basic withdrawal rates, same thing. But that was the purpose of this exercise today, was to show you when you're really doing these annuities and if you're trying to layer and things like that, you're never going to really, you've really got to fit the annuity to the solution for it to really shine. The QLAC will really shine if all you need is money in the back end. And it would really fail if the big problem is money in the front end, or if a client doesn't live at least 90, right? So those things fall into play. This client, it shines. If I live to 92, 95, this would outshine the no COLA with no problem, because that no COLA is paying $3,050 forever. This is paying almost $6,000 a month forever. So this would outshine the no COLA, but however, it wouldn't outshine this, because this has a COLA. So everything kind of, there's no right and wrong solution. You want to fit it to what makes most sense for that client. This is sweating the details. You have to think that out. But understanding the QLAC, there are a lot of advantages to it. And there's a lot of uses. But I wanted to go with the conventional layered bucket situation and show you it helps us manage where I would have to do a COLA here, and the COLA has its downsides, especially if a client doesn't live long. They die prematurely on me. I kind of have a better advantage here if I'm not confident on the client's life expectancy, believe it or not. The QLAC, this client taking it at 84, 85, better to do a QLAC with a period certain in front of it than do a life annuity. All right, one other thing. Let's check this out. Stress testing this stuff. What does it look like? Well, by the way, we said stress test. Doesn't matter if I do this solution, this solution, or this solution. They're all going to win. And they're all going to win on the upside. But let's go back to killing my client prematurely. Last thing to look at. This is why income. Now, the client didn't ask for it. But age 90 or more, you're generally going to always win. And obviously, the longer the client lives, the better you're going to do. Let's look at 100. Here, they ran out of money. All three of my solutions will win. The normal solution, no COLA, wins. The COLA really wins. And now the QLAC falls just a little less behind now. So you can see a conventional no COLA commitment is not going to do it. COLA is really help in the long run if you're looking at a life expectancy of 100. And whether you use a QLAC now, this QLAC probably would have beaten the solution because that solution has a COLA in it on that initial SPIA. So by the end of 100, my annuity is paying out. Well, my QLAC is paying $58.93. Unfortunately, forever and ever. The solution with the COLA, traditional SPIA, pay $9,500 a month, right? So again, life expectancy plays a key in this. If I had 100 life expectancy, I'd be doing a QLAC with a COLA, and then it would probably beat my traditional SPIA with a COLA. Again, it's beating the SPIA with a COLA up to 90 when I don't use a COLA on my QLAC and use a COLA on the QLAC. I mean the traditional SPIA. But again, like I said, at 90, I'm never using a COLA on the QLAC. When I get past 93, 94, that's when the QLAC, because it's such a late turn on, COLA can start winning. But it takes a while. Right? All right, I hope this was helpful today. I kind of want to get back to these cases on a regular basis. I've been overloaded with casework, but it started to slow down. We've been at these rates for a while, and our business is finally catching up. We have so many clients we've been doing business. Hope you guys have been as busy as we have. I will probably not going to do it next week because it's 4th of July next week. So we'll do it the week after. And I'm going to do, I have an interesting case I'd like to go over with people. It's just a regular case. Client gave it to me. Very interesting case. And I'm looking forward to showing it to people. And I'm going to just start doing some conventional case, not specific. So I hope people will be interested in that. I have a question for somebody. When do you use life insurance for the legacy solution? Good question. Someone's asked me when do I use life insurance for a legacy solution? And I'll do a case study with that. So life insurance, when you're doing life insurance for legacy, well, let's talk about life insurance in general. All right, let's assume I'm dealing with a client who's insurable, because obviously that does such a drag on your situation. I generally use lots of life insurance, actually even for income. So when my clients are 45 to 55 and they love the idea of income, let me give you some math here, some real basic math. Generally, you need to spend between 35 and 45% of your income, your assets at retirement, to really mitigate market risk. You free about 60 to 70% of your hostages. You use 30 to 40 of them as income, maybe up to 50. In this case, I use 45%. It varies, right? So when you keep that in mind, the problem is, let's say this client, he's retired. Let's take him right now. He's 66, right? 66, he has 1.6 million, I think, 1.4 million he had, right? I needed to use $600,000, right? 650 to really make my solutions look good. Well, here's the problem. Let's roll the clock back 10 years. Let's pretend his wife is alive and it's 10 years. He's now 56. And now he's really starting to pack money away because they put college and everything, but they only have not 1.6 million. I only have 400,000 or 300,000, right? Because it's the next year that he's going to pack the million away, or the 400 or 500,000 plus growth to get to the 1.4 million. So you only have 400,000 of that 1.4 million. Well, how much income can he buy? Even if he buys a DIA 10 years in advance, he can't buy a lot of income. And you're never going to get him emotionally to give you even 400,000. And if he gives you 150, a third of that, well, that's a drop in the bucket of probably my needs. That'll buy maybe a quarter of my needs or half of my eventual needs. He doesn't have the money saved yet. And this is where life insurance comes in, because life insurance is a great play here. Why? If he's the only bread earner, he's got to get that money for her too. And he has not saved. Well, here's the window to save, because obviously he can only put so much in his 401k. And he was going to put it in his non-qualified position. Well, this is when you say, buy a life insurance policy, because what we do with the life insurance, we're covering your needs now, and then we're packing that money in. So guess what? In 10 years time, 15 years time, when you're age 70, I've got an income stream for you, just like an annuity. And particularly someone who's using a 90-year life expectancy, that's a winner. Winner, 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 chicken dinner. Now, as a legacy play for this guy, here's the problem. This guy would not be a legacy play with life insurance, likely. Why? Well, here's the problem. I'm going to go back. Let's put him back at 10 years. As I said, he's pretty safe at 90. That's not even an issue. In fact, life insurance will look, if he's insurable, it would look great. Probably. Remember, I'm starting insurance at age 66, not 56. Insurance is a lot cheaper at 56. And until I get that thing packed up with money, and so from 56 to 66, I can stuff a lot of money in a life insurance. I can put $50,000 a year. The guy might be making enough. That's what he's going to save. He's going to save $1 million. Well, if half of it is going to be into his 401k, half could be into the life insurance policy. That works. But at 66 and I'm retired, what is $50,000 a year for the next 10 years? It's going to be more than 50 for me now because I'm older. Cost of insurance is much higher. And so the drag to me, now he dies at 90 and my projections is probably going to be a winner. But the emotional drag for this client may not work. Now, if a client is a more aggressive an investor, you tell me he's an aggressive investor, he may like the idea. It may be great to him. But a conservative investor who's worried about withdrawal rates and where's money coming from is not looking for me to come up with even more money to come out of his pocket. $50,000 a year for the next, well, we may not do that kind of policy, but you may have to stuff a lot of money in to get a decent policy. And this client, you're not going to sit there and stuff $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 into a life insurance policy and send his withdrawal rates to 10%. You can't do that to him because what would that do? He couldn't go 90% in the market. This works here because I'm going 90% in the market. I can't do this here. It was great. I bought all this income. If in the green lines, they're going to say, well, I got a low withdrawal rate. I could buy insurance now. No, I can't. I can't buy the insurance here because that would drive my withdrawal rate really high here for 10 years until I get that policy stuff. And guess what that does? It sets vulnerability in the red zone for high withdrawal rate that has to be funded. I got to fund that policy. I don't have choices. And I have a high withdrawal rate here while I've got this problem that if a market tanks on me, I'm doomed because I'm 90% in the market with the rest of the dollars. Can't do it. Now, you tell me I got a lot of income up front, like I got a deferred comp. It's a no-brainer. Guys tells me I got a deferred comp for the next 10 years. So I've got more cash than I need. Guess what I'm doing? Buying the life insurance and buying a QLAC. There you go. There's your QLAC, right? Guy's 67, got 10-year deferred comp coming in. I got money in my qualified plan. Take the money out of my qualified plan. $200,000 per client and spouse. Put $400,000 by income starting at age 77. Basically, it's a deal. Great payout. 10-year delay. Got income forever. Buy insurance with the deferred comp money because I got all this money coming in. Plow it into the insurance, and now I've got legacy. Beautiful play. Actually, great case study I should build for people. I haven't had a client like that. I've had a lot of deferred comps. I haven't played it that way. But as I think with you guys, that's a great play to do with the deferred comp person. All right. Any other questions? All right. Again, thank you everyone for coming. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to the next meeting. Have a wonderful day.
Hey, Tom Hegna here. I've written 5 books on retirement. Many of you know that. But I'll tell you, I've also attended Thrive University multiple times. Curtis Cloak is a personal friend of mine. He does some of my own personal financial work. And I will tell you, if you like the stuff that I do and you want to go deeper, you ought to attend Thrive University. I'm telling you, this is not for beginners. It is not a beginner's course. But if you want to go deep, deep, deep in the weeds, I'm telling you, nobody knows this like Curtis Cloak does. So hope to see you at a Thrive University in the future.